Hi, I am Eliza from Bookish English. Are you ready to practice speaking in English with me? Let's do it. What do you do? Where do you want to go? What are you up to this weekend? Could you answer these questions in English? In today's English lesson, you will practice speaking with me about 7 of the most common conversation topics in English. We will practice vocabulary, questions, sample conversation. Plus, you will have the chance to have a sample conversation practice conversation with me too. Over the past year, I have made 7 Speak With Me lessons, and today I have combined them all in a very useful lesson where you can practice them for the next 2 hours to help you never forget what you've learned. All right. Are you ready to get started? We are going to be talking about these topics today. Drum roll. Let's get started with the first one. Weekend plans. Are you ready to learn the most important conversation question of all time? At least according to me. Is that question, what's your name? No. Is that question, will you give me money? No. Is that question, do you love me? No, no, no. The most important conversation question is, there's actually 2 parts. What about you? And how about you? When someone asks you about your weekend plans and you say a little reply, I'm going hiking or I'm not doing much, there might be an incredibly awkward pause. What happens next? Well, this is where the most important question comes in. You can ask them, what about you? Or how about you? You can imagine tossing a ball back and forth. The other person has asked you a question. What are you doing this weekend? They throw you the ball. Now you reply and you say, okay, I'm going hiking, or I'm not doing much. You need to throw or toss the ball back to that person, and this question does that. How about you? It means you are asking the same question back to them. What are you doing this weekend? How about you? I want you to remember this wonderful question. Either of them, actually. They have the exact same meaning. How about you? What about you? Remember these questions because later when we practice this at the end of this lesson, during our conversation speaking time, remember these questions and use them. All right, let's go to some common vocabulary that you can use to talk about weekend plans. Brunch. Many Americans love brunch. The word brunch is a combination of breakfast and lunch, and that's because we usually eat this on the weekends, maybe a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. It's a time when you could eat either breakfast or lunch, and it's usually a long social event. You might go out to brunch with your friends, or have your friends to your house to eat brunch. My friends and I are meeting at our favorite brunch spot on Sunday. Great. It's a restaurant where you can eat breakfast-type foods, usually with some alcoholic drink like a mimosa or something with fruit in it, or maybe some champagne in the morning, and you can eat this in the company of your friends. Another common weekend word is social butterfly. A social butterfly refers to someone who makes a lot of plans. They are flying around from one event to another to another activity. They're always doing things, usually involving lots of other people. They are a social butterfly. If you are a social butterfly, probably the year 2020 with lockdowns and all of these things was probably really difficult for you because you love to get together with other people and always be active. We can use this in a sentence like this. My friend is a social butterfly. She has invitations to 3 brunches and 4 afternoon teas. Amazing. What if you are not a social butterfly? What if you are the opposite? Are you an unsocial caterpillar? No. It means you are a homebody. Your body likes to stay at home. I'm a homebody. She's a homebody. Someone who enjoys just doing things slowly and staying at home. They feel most comfortable in a comfortable place at home. You could say, my friend is a social butterfly, but I'm more of a homebody. When I get together with friends, I would rather have dinner at my house and then play games here. I think this is true for me personally. As I get a little bit older, I prefer these kinds of intimate group settings. Instead of lots of people, I prefer just a couple of friends at home. Maybe having a bonfire outside, roasting some food or some marshmallows in this intimate setting. I enjoy doing activities at home more often than when I was a little bit younger. To stay in. Unfortunately, that has been probably a lot of our weekend plans for the past year, and it means that you're just going to stay at home. It doesn't mean you're going to do nothing. It just means you're not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay in. You might say, it's supposed to be cold and rainy this weekend, so I'm just going to stay in and read a book. Or, I'm just going to stay in and do some things around the house. To binge watch. This means that you watch a lot of movies or TV shows, usually back to back without stopping. Several hours, maybe you watch 4 seasons of a TV show in one day. This is binge watching. You are watching a lot. This expression comes from a term we usually use with alcohol, to binge drink. This means that you drink a lot of alcohol at one time. Not a very healthy thing to do, but when we say to binge drink, that has the same idea. You're doing a lot back to back, or you could binge watch TV. You might say, last weekend my husband and I binge watched all of the Star Wars movies. This isn't true. When you have young children, you do not have time to binge watch TV, but you might say this about your life. I binge watched that new TV show that just came out. Our final expression that you can use to talk about your weekend plans is to catch up on some chores. This phrasal verb, to catch up on, is a beautiful phrasal verb that you can use to talk about some necessary activity that you haven't done for a while, and now there's more and more and more, and you need to finish all of this. We can imagine laundry, dishes, sweeping, cleaning, maybe some home repairs, tidying up, maybe even yard work. If you don't do those things for 1 week or 2 weeks, there's so many you have to do. That means you need to catch up. You need to do what you haven't done for a while. You need to catch up on some chores. And chores are just those activities that I mentioned. Laundry, dishes, these necessary activities that involve cleaning up, helping to make your home a wonderful place to live. Maybe this weekend you just need to catch up on some chores. You might say, I was so busy all week, and finally, I'm going to catch up on some chores this weekend. Maybe not very fun, but when your house is clean, it feels good. All right, now that we have some common vocabulary you can use to talk about your weekend plans, let's talk about some introduction questions that you might hear and that you can also ask other people. These have varying levels of reductions and fast ways that you will hear them, so I want to help you understand and recognize what other people are saying, and also be able to use it. Let's talk about our first question. What are you up to this weekend? What are you up to this weekend? You might know the expression, "What's up?" This just means, "How are you?" We're using that same word up to talk about what are you doing this weekend? What are you up to this weekend? But do you think that we usually say it like this? What are you up to this weekend? So clear, so lovely. No. Instead, we're going to reduce this a little bit, and then we can reduce it a lot more. Let's talk about the first one. What are you up to? What are you up to? Whatter. Here, the word what and are creating a spoken contraction. Usually when we write, we don't write this type of contraction. It's only in spoken English, but oftentimes be verbs like are, is, will be contracted with a question word. What are you up to this weekend? What are you up to? We can reduce this a little bit further. What you up to? What you up to? What you up to this weekend? There are a lot of reductions happening at the beginning. What you up to? Here we have, what are you being reduced to just watch? The key chi is you and what are has just been smooshed together and we can say, what she up to? What she up to? What she up to? What she up to? This is really fast. If you say this slowly, what she up to? It sounds really weird. We only use this in really fast English, so if you are going to say this, it needs to be quickly and reduced and linked together. Most likely you're going to hear this. So I want to make sure that you can understand when someone says, "Hey, what's up to this weekend? What's up to this weekend?" You can say, "Eliza taught me that. I know what that means. What are you up to this weekend?" Yes. Let's go into our next expression where we're going to also reduce this a bit and help you to understand it. What have you got going on this weekend? What have you got going on this weekend? These all mean the same thing. What are you doing this weekend? But you might hear this expression with the word got. What have you got going on this weekend? When you actually hear this, we don't say it that clearly. What have you got going on this weekend? Wouldn't that be nice, though? Instead, you're going to hear a reduction or a contraction of the first two words, just like we saw with the previous example. What of, so what and have are going to be pushed together. What have you got going on? That final G in the word going is going to be cut off, and we'll just say, going. Let's try to say that all together. You want to try to say it with me? What have you got going on? What have you got going on this weekend? What have you got going on this weekend? Do you think we can reduce this further? Yes. What do you got going on this weekend? What do you got? Here, the beginning of what have you got is just really like you threw it in a mixing bowl, stirred it up, and threw it out on a cookie tray. Well, let's try to break it down so it's not quite so messy and complicated. At the beginning we have, what have you got? But it sounds like whatta. Whatta. This is what have. Whatta ya. Ya is you. What do you got going? Again, we're going to drop that G at the end of the word going. Going on. What do you got going on? Whata. Notice what's happening at the end of the word what. Do you hear a clear T? Whata ya, whata ya. No. That T at the end of the word what is going to change to a D sound. This is really typical of American English, where a T that's surrounded by vowel sounds is going to change to a D. It's called a flapped T, and it just rolls off your tongue in a smooth way. What do you got going on? Can you say it with me? What do you got going on this weekend? What do you got going on this weekend? All right, let's go to our last question. You doing anything fun this weekend? You doing anything fun this weekend? What's happening at the beginning of this question? Should there be another word? Yes. Are you doing anything fun this weekend? Are you? But the word are, it's on vacation. It's just gone somewhere. So we're going to start this question with the word you. You doing anything fun this weekend? It makes the question seem a little more casual and less like an interrogation, or like you're asking someone out on a date. It's just a casual question. You doing anything fun this weekend? But we can reduce this question. We're not going to reduce it an awful lot, but we will hear this reduced a little bit. When we say, you doing anything fun? Instead, you're going to hear, you doing, yeah. The word you is reduced to ya. You doing, listen to that G at the end. You doing, it's gone. It's also on vacation. Maybe it's on vacation with the word are. Let's say, you doing anything fun this weekend? You doing. That's the main reduction that's going to happen in this question. You doing anything fun this weekend? You doing... Try to say that with me. You doing anything fun this weekend? You doing anything fun this weekend? All right, let's go on to some other common things that you will hear in these types of small talk, easy, casual conversations. If someone tells you about their weekend plans, and it sounds interesting or fun, how can you reply? You might say, that sounds like fun, or how interesting, or just simply, nice. If that person is doing nothing, they're just sitting at home, maybe they're going to binge watch some TV and stay in. Well, sometimes it's nice to still say something positive in response, so you might say, sometimes it's nice to do nothing. And that's true, especially if you've been doing a lot. Sometimes it's nice just to stay in and relax for the weekend. So you might say, sometimes it's nice to do nothing. Right? Before we practice our sample conversation together, what can you say at the end? Well, if you're talking about weekend plans, it is before the weekend, so you could just say, have a good weekend, or enjoy your weekend. Simple, great way to end the conversation. All right, let's take a deep breath. Are you ready to put all of this together? What I would like you to do is first, I would like you to listen to a sample conversation. Think about the different parts that are happening. You're going to hear our key, beautiful question. What about you? How about you? You're going to also hear some of the key vocabulary that we talked about, and also just some of the questions, the introductory questions. What have you got going on this weekend? Great. Things like that we'll put together. And then I'm going to put some pauses, and it's going to be your turn to have the conversation with me. First, let's watch the conversation sample. Hey, what you up to this weekend? Nothing much. I'm just going to stay in and catch up on some chores on Saturday. But on Sunday, I'm going to meet up with some of my friends for brunch. That sounds fun. Where's your favorite brunch spot? I usually go to Sunny Morning Cafe. What about you? What have you got going on this weekend? I'm a homebody, so I'll probably just read a book in my hammock. That sounds nice. Well, have a good weekend. Enjoy your book. Thanks. You too. Have a good weekend. All right. Are you ready to take this to the next level? I'm going to be asking you a question and then pausing, and I would like you to reply in that pause. Take a moment. Tell me about your weekend plans. You can do it. Let's go. Hey, what are you up to this weekend? How interesting. How often do you do that? Me? I'll probably go hiking since the weather's going to be so warm. Well, nice talking to you. Have a good weekend. Well, how did you do? If you would like, you can go back and practice that little sample conversation. You can take a deep breath, enjoy yourself. That's part of learning English. I want you to enjoy the process. Enjoy the journey. Let's start with some common questions for talking about eating out and restaurants. Since the pandemic began, a lot of restaurants have changed their service model. So these questions will cover eating in a restaurant, but also ordering food to go. I hope that these will help you in any situation that you're in. Let's start with our first question. Do you want to eat out? This phrasal verb to eat out means at a restaurant. We don't often say, do you want to go to a restaurant? Do you want to eat at a restaurant? We just say, eat out. Do you want to eat out? But we often reduce this question to sound a little more comfortable and casual. You want to eat out? You is you. You want to eat out? You want to eat out? We've dropped the question word completely, do. Just, yeah. And then we have reduced want to become wanna. This is a common reduction in English. Can you say this question with me? You want to eat out? You want to eat out? Or we could cut off that first word, yeah, completely and just say, wanna eat out? Ask it with me. Wanna eat out? Great. Then you might ask, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? But do you think we say it clearly like this? Unfortunately not. Instead, you could say, where you want to go? Where you want to go? This is a similar reduction to our first question. You becomes ya and want to becomes wanna. Where you want to go? Where you want to go? Where you want to go? Should we order pickup? Should we order pickup? I want to let you know that in the US, there are a lot of terms that are used for this idea that you're not eating in the restaurant. You're ordering food, but then you get the food and you take it somewhere else. Maybe you take it back home or you take it to a park. We could use a couple of different phrases, and it's just your personal preference. For me, I say, pick up. Do you want to order pickup? Do you want to get pickup? But you could also say, should we order takeout? Should we order carry out? Should we order takeaway? A lot of different phrases, and you are going to hear these all around the US. So it's just your choice what you'd like to use. Another fun question to ask what someone would like to eat is, what are you in the mood for? What are you in the mood for? Don't deny it. Sometimes in your heart you're just in the mood for comfort food, something that's heavy and rich and reminds you of a cozy, warm time in your childhood. Maybe it's not very healthy, but you're in the mood for comfort food. Or maybe you're in the mood for something light. You want a salad or sushi, something light. This idea of what are you feeling like you want to eat. But we often reduce this question, and instead of saying, what are you in the mood for? We might say, what you in the mood for? Whatcha is what are you? Whatcha in the mood for? Here, the word you has been reduced to cha. Cha. This is extremely common in spoken English that the word you gets changed up in a lot of ways. We already talked about one of those, yeah, and this is another cha. What you in the mood for? What you in the mood for? Or we could reduce this even further. What you in the mood for? What you in the mood for? This is extremely reduced, but notice what's happening. What are you in the mood for? The word are is gone, and the word you has been reduced to ya. So when we link together, what and you, super fast. What you in the mood for? What you in the mood for? You don't want to say this reduction slowly. What you in the mood for? Now, we can say it like that to practice for this lesson, but when this is in daily conversation, it's really fast. That's the purpose of a reduction. Do you think you could say this with me really fast? What ye in the mood for? What ye in the mood for? What ye in the mood for? Great. All right. Let's talk about some common answers to these questions so that you can be prepared and ready. When someone asks you, what ye in the mood for? You might say, let's order in. How about some option? How about pizza? Let's order in. This is another phrase for talking about bringing the food back to your house. You don't want to get all ready and then go to the restaurant, or maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that. You might just say, let's order in. How about pizza? This expression, how about, is a great way to give a suggestion. This is excellent in professional situations. Hey, how about if we try this marketing plan? Or, it's great for informal situations to give a suggestion about something you want to eat. How about pizza? What do you think about that? Sometimes this question is reduced, and it sounds like this. How about pizza? How about pizza? The first A in the word about is gone. It's just missing. We say, how about pizza? Can you say that reduction quickly with me? How about pizza? How about pizza? Great. Or you could say, I'm feeling tacos. Does that sound good? You're giving your opinion. You'd like to eat tacos, but you also want to know what the other person wants, so you use a great question. Does that sound good? But we often reduce this a lot. Let's take a look at the first reduction. You might say, I'm feeling, cutting off that G, I'm feeling tacos. How's that sound? How's that sound? Instead of how does that sound, you can say, how's that sound? How's that sound? Can you say that quickly with me? I'm feeling tacos. How's that sound? I'm feeling tacos. How's that sound? Great. We can also reduce it and switch it up a little bit. I'm feeling tacos. Does that sound okay? I'm feeling tacos. That's what I want. But I want to know your opinion. Does that sound okay? Reduces to, does that sound okay? That sound okay? Can you say it with me? I'm feeling tacos. That sound okay? Great question. Because a lot of restaurants have changed over the last year, and you never know when a restaurant might be closed. It's a good question to ask. Is Ted's Cafe open? I would love to go there. Is some restaurant open? I would love to go there. There is a little way that we can reduce this question. Take a look at this. Is Ted's Cafe open? I would love to go there. The word would becomes I'd. I would, I'd. You can say, is Ted's Cafe open? I'd love to go there. Can you say it with me? Is Ted's Cafe open? I'd love to go there. Great. In the US, a lot of restaurants are having outdoor seating. You could say, let's go to Louie's. A restaurant named Louie. Let's go to Louie's and eat lunch on their patio. Eat lunch on their patio. This is an outdoor dining area. It's really nice when restaurants have this because sometimes you don't feel like eating at home, but especially with kids, if you don't feel like confining them inside a restaurant, or maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that. If a restaurant has a patio, it's much more informal feeling, and it's a nice spur-of-the-moment thing to do. A great expression that you can use is, let's grab a bite at Louie's. Let's grab a bite at Ted's Cafe. To grab a bite is usually a quick meal. It might be lunch. Usually it's not dinner because it's pretty quick, but it might just be a short experience. It's not a long dinner. It's not a big to-do. Let's grab a bite at Ted's Cafe because I have to go to Eliza. To do. Let's grab a bite at Ted's Cafe because I have to go somewhere later. Let's grab a bite at somewhere else. Can you say that with me? Let's grab a bite at Ted's Cafe. Let's grab a bite. Our final answer to the question what you want to eat is, I know a place or I know a spot that has great pasta. I know a place that has great pizza. I know a place. You could leave this simple and just say, I know a place. Come with me. But if you want to be a little less mysterious, you could just say, oh, I know a place that has great pasta. Come with me and you've got to try it. Okay. This is kind of maybe an unknown restaurant location that not many people know about, and it's a great phrase to use. Oh, I know a place that you're going to love. Excellent. Are you ready to practice these? First, I would like you to watch this sample conversation between my husband and I as we talk about where we want to eat, what we want to eat. Think about those phrases. Notice the phrases that we use, and then after that, you're going to have a chance to speak out loud and practice it yourself. Let's watch the sample conversation. Hey, you want to grab lunch? Ariel. Sure, but I only have time for a quick bite before my soccer game. What sounds good? Eliza. How about pasta? Ariel. That sounds great. How about I call it in, you pick it up, and we'll picnic in the park before my game starts? Eliza. That sounds great. I know a place that's close by and has great tomato sauce. All right. Now it's your turn. I want you to use these phrases that you've learned. I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to have a little conversation together. It's your chance to speak out loud. So I'm going to ask a question and pause. Wait for your answer. No matter where you are around the world, I will be listening to you. So please take this opportunity to speak and use what you've learned. If you need to repeat this section again and again, do that. It's a great way to gain confidence as you speak. Are you ready? Hey, I'm hungry. Let's grab lunch. What's you in the mood for? Oh, that sounds good. Do you know a good place? Oh, that sounds good. You want to eat there or get takeout? Great. Let's go. Well, how did you do? Do you feel a little more confident discussing dining options and talking about eating out? I hope so. In this lesson, we're going to talk about some common questions to ask about vacations, some common responses, and then you'll have a chance to practice this with me. Are you ready? I know that vacation this year looks a little bit different than most years because of, well, this virus that we have going around. So it's going to be a little bit different than usual talking about vacation. Let's first talk about some common questions and how to pronounce those naturally in English. Do you have plans to go anywhere this summer? Okay, this question is fine. You could use this full question. Do you have plans to go anywhere this summer? But there are a couple of different ways to either reduce or slightly change this question that are a little bit more natural. Where you going this summer? Where ya, which is you, going, dropping the G. Where you going this summer? Where you going this summer? Or we could say, what you got going on this summer? What cha is what plus you. You becomes cha. What you got going on? Again, we're dropping the G, but we're using a great phrasal verb. Going, going on. What's going on? If you go into a room and it's an absolute mess, you might use this phrasal verb and say, what is going on here? But you can use this also for vacation and say, what do you have going on this summer? Or reduced, what you got going on this summer? It simply means, what are your plans this summer? What you got going on this summer? So if someone asks you this, you know that they're asking about your vacation plans. What you got going on this summer? Another common question is, are you doing anything fun for vacation? But we don't often say it as clearly as this, unfortunately, right? Are you doing anything fun for vacation becomes, you doing anything fun for vacation? Look at what's happening at the beginning of this question. Ye. What happened to the verb are? Are you doing? It's completely gone. Maybe it's also on vacation. So we're going to start this question with just you, which is reduced to we. Do you see how we reduce the word you in a lot of ways? What you got going on? Or ye doing? Ye doing. We're dropping that G again. You do anything fun? Something interesting happens at the beginning of the word anything. You do anything fun? We link together doing because we're going to drop the G. It ends with the sound N, the N sound. And then the next word, anything. We sometimes drop the A, and we're going to push those two together because there's two N sounds side by side. You do anything? Do anything fun? You do anything? This is one of the reasons why English sounds quite fast to English learners. If you watch a TV show and you say, What in the world did they just say? I have no idea. Well, it's because of these dropping linkings. This is quite common in spoken English, so you can say this question with me. Are you ready? You do anything fun for vacation? You do anything fun for vacation? Let's go to our next question. Where are you headed for vacation? Where are you headed for vacation? This question is very clear the way I just said it, but it uses a wonderful verb, headed. This is, yes, your head, but it's talking about the direction that you're going, some place that you're going to visit. So if you get a call from your mom and she says, "Where are you going?" you could say, "I'm headed to the store." This means that's the direction that you're going. You are on your way to the store. But we can reduce this a little bit and say, "Where ya?" Does that sound familiar? Where you headed for vacation? Where you headed for vacation? We could substitute the end of this for vacation and just say, "Where are you headed this summer?" Where you headed this summer? Where you headed this summer? Do you notice that a great way to sound a little bit more fluent in English is to reduce the word you? We've talked about a couple of different reductions, but a very common one is yay. Where you headed this summer? Where you headed for vacation? Great. Before we go on to some common answers that you can use to answer these questions, let's talk about something very important. The most important conversation question you will ever know is, what about you? How about you? We talked about this in the part 1 video I made, Speak with me about your weekend plans. Well, these two questions are essential. If you don't remember anything else from this video, please remember, what about you? How about you? We use these if you can imagine a ball. I'm holding the conversation ball. And when I ask you, how about you? Boom, I pass the ball to you. It is your turn to answer the same question. So if you ask me, where are you headed for vacation? And I say, hey, not really anywhere. I'm staying home. What about you? I pass the question back to you. This is a great way to continue a conversation. So make sure that you keep that locked inside your memory, because we're going to be using that a little bit later in this lesson, where you're going to use these conversation questions and answers to practice speaking with me. All right, let's go to some common answers to talk about our vacations, especially in this world that we're living in this year. Because a lot of us would love to go on vacation and see the world, but we probably needed to change our plans a bit this summer. Let's talk about some realistic answers to these questions about where you're headed this summer, what you got going on for vacation. Let's talk about some realistic answers. I'd like to go to Europe, but I think I'll take a road trip around the US instead. This is using a great sentence construction. I'd like to, but. So first, we're talking about your dream, the ideal dream, and then we're talking about what you're really doing. I'd like to go to Europe, but I think I'll go on a road trip around the US instead. Or you could say, I'd like to go to a family reunion, but we had to postpone it. Okay. The ideal is going to the family reunion, getting together with all of your family members, but the reality is that you had to postpone it or delay it for another time. This is the reality. I wish that I could go on a cruise, but that's not happening right now, so I guess I'll order a pizza and go to the pool. Here again, we're talking about the dream, and then you can make that reality special for you. It doesn't need to be too disappointing, but it's not your dream, your ideal dream. I wish that I could go on a cruise, but cruises aren't happening right now. I wish that I could. That's a great introductory phrase. I wish that I could go to a music festival, but it was canceled. So I guess I'll make a playlist and listen to music and dance in my backyard. I wish that I could, but this is what I'll do instead. All right, let's go to our third phrase. I was going to take my family to New York, but I think we'll go camping instead. Using this phrase, I was going to, talks about a plan that you had, usually a real plan that you had. It's not just a dream. It's a plan that you had, and then you needed to change it. I was going to take my family to New York, but I think we'll go camping instead. So we have the dream, or maybe a plan, but unfortunately, that's not the reality. I was going to backpack across Italy, but I guess I'll stay home and learn how to cook some Italian dishes instead. This year is all about, and last year was all about, trying to make some kind of compromise, a change in plans that's not too disappointing. I was going to backpack across Italy, but I'll learn to cook some Italian dishes instead. Okay, now that we have some common questions, don't forget our key question. How about you? What about you? And some common answers. Let's take a look at a sample conversation so that you can try to imitate this when it comes to be your turn. Let's take a look at this sample. Ariel. Hey, you doing anything fun this summer? Eliza. Well, I was going to go backpacking around Europe, but instead, I think I'll just go camping in some local state parks. What about you? Ariel. Well, I was going to meet my family in Florida for a family reunion, but that got canceled. So now I think I'm going to have a socially distanced outdoor movie night in my backyard. Do you want to come? Eliza. Sure, that sounds great. Text me the details and I'll be there. Ariel. Great. I'll see you around. Enjoy your camping trip. Eliza. Thanks. I will. See you at the movie night. Okay, now it's your turn. Put together all of these pieces. I'm going to be asking you a question, then I'm going to be pausing. I don't care where you are living around the world. My ears are going to be listening to you. Then I'll be replying, and I would like you to take this opportunity to speak out loud. If you need to go back, review this section, do it again and again, and just gain some more courage, feel free to do it. This is a wonderful chance to speak out loud. Are you ready? Let's do it. Hey, you doing anything fun this summer? That sounds like fun. Have you done that before? I wish I could take my family on a trip to Switzerland, but with the travel restrictions, I think we're just going to go on a road trip here in the US instead. Yeah. Well, it was nice talking with you. See you later. So, how did you do? Do you feel a little bit more comfortable talking about your vacation or summer plans? Feel free to go back and review our practice section together. It's a great way to speak out loud. Okay. Let's get started with some common vocabulary to talk about where you live. If you live in a city, you might say, "It's really busy where I live." New York City is a busy place. Or you could use the word crowded. Tokyo is a crowded city. There are lots of people everywhere, and there are not many places where you can be alone and have a quiet moment. Maybe you might say that your city is busy and crowded. What's the opposite of this? You can say, Stockholm, Sweden, is a relaxed city. It's a quiet place. I don't know. I've been to Stockholm. If you're from Stockholm, Sweden, let me know. But you might say, where I live is just a relaxed place. Or we can say, it's relaxing. If you come visit where I live, it's very relaxing and quiet. Maybe that's because it's in the country. Let's go on to these two common words to talk about the type of place you live. You might say, yeah, I live in Delhi, India, and it's one of the largest urban areas in the world. There are so many people here. It's busy, it's crowded, it's an urban area. And this means it's the city. It's quite busy. It's crowded. It's an urban area. There's not many trees, not much nature. But on the other hand, you might say, I live in the country. The word country means United States, France, Japan, these places. But in the US, we use this to mean countryside. We do say countryside sometimes, but we're more likely in the US to say, I live in the country. That means in nature. Maybe there are some farms around you, maybe there are forests around you, and you don't live in a busy urban city center. You live in the country. So I wonder for you, do you live in the country? Or do you live in an urban city center? Do you live somewhere that's difficult to get to? You might say, yeah, my city is off the beaten path, but it's worth visiting. So for me, my city, Asheville, in North Carolina, it is definitely off the beaten path. It's not a huge city. It doesn't have a big airport that comes here. It's off the beaten path. But if you want to check out some other local sites in the US, it could be nice to visit. It's off the beaten path. This also can be used to talk about locations within a city. So if you visit Paris and you go to the Eiffel Tower and then you get hungry, well, the places that are close to the Eiffel Tower to eat, those are what we call tourist traps. Those places are only for tourists. They're extremely expensive. They're not high quality. It's just to trap tourists. But if you want to eat at a great location, you might go somewhere off the beaten path. This is somewhere that not many other people go to, and it's an expression that's great to use about little secret local locations. So when I visit your city, I might ask, are there any places off the beaten path that I can visit? Are there any restaurants off the beaten path that only locals know about? What is something off the beaten path that I can do? Let's say that where you live is not extremely popular, but it's becoming more popular. Maybe because of the pandemic last year, people are traveling to different types of destinations. Maybe they're deciding to travel to more nature places, places that are in the mountains or places that are not in big city centers. Well, that might mean that where you live is becoming an up-and-coming place. We use this term up-and-coming to talk about somewhere that's not extremely popular, but it's becoming more popular. So you might say, yeah, my city isn't really popular right now, but it's an up-and-coming place. You've got to check it out. We can use this on a smaller scale, just like off the beaten path, to talk about a restaurant or a neighborhood. Yeah, that neighborhood used to not be a good neighborhood, but now it's an up-and-coming neighborhood. You've got to walk through it. Just look at the houses, look at the architecture, enjoy the sights. So you might say it's an up-and-coming place. Excellent expression. Our final expression to talk about where you live is must see or some must see locations. Can you imagine what this means? Does it mean it's not important to see it? Nah, you can skip that. No, you must see this. So, for example, when you visit Egypt, the pyramids are a must see. So we can use it as a noun, a must see. Of course, when you go to Egypt, the pyramids are a must see. When you go to London, Big Ben is a must-see. When you go to New York City, the Empire State Building is a must-see. These are kind of like the top things that you need to see. But even if you don't live in one of those really popular cities, if you live somewhere a little bit off the beaten path, you can still use this expression. You might say, in my city, yeah. This view on the top of the mountains, yeah, that is a must-see. You drive up this hill, and you can have a great 360 view. That is a must-see. So it's something that you cannot miss when you visit that location. So when I visit your city, tell me, what are some places that are a must-see? I don't want to miss them. Next, let's talk about some common questions that you can ask other people about where they live, and also other people will ask you about where you live. So make sure you're comfortable answering them about where you live. The first question is, where are you from? This is an extremely common question, and you can just say, yep, I'm from the US. But it's nice to give a little more detail. So you might say, I'm from Asheville in North Carolina. It's a pretty quiet place, but it's kind of up and coming. Great. You're giving some details. It's quiet, but it's also up and coming. I live in Asheville. You're inviting a conversation. If you just say, I'm from the US, or I'm from Asheville, that's where I'm from, someone might ask you, what's it like there? Or if someone doesn't give you more details about where they live, they just say, France. I live in London. I live in LA. Okay, well, you might want some more details. You want to continue the conversation. This is a great question to ask. What's it like there? What's it like there? They might say, it's so hot in the summer, but in the fall, it's awesome because we get some great leaves and you got to check it out in the fall. Excellent. If someone has not mentioned the weather yet, you can say, what's the weather like there? They can go into some details. You could say about your city, the winter is so cold. We get tons of snow. But when it melts in the spring and all of the leaves become green and the flowers bloom, it's awesome. You've got to visit in the spring. If you have not told someone what time to visit yet, they might ask, what's the best time to visit? So when Ariel and I were planning a trip to go to Costa Rica a couple of years ago, we did a lot of research about what is the best time to visit Costa Rica. Their seasons are very different than our seasons, and we were going to be spending a lot of time outside, so we wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be raining the whole time, wasn't going to be pouring down rain or too hot the whole time. So we asked this question: when's the best time to visit? Someone might ask you, when's the best time to visit your city? For my city, I think the best time to visit is the fall. The leaves are beautiful in the mountains. There are so many different colors, and the air is so crisp and fresh. You got to visit in the fall. If someone asked you, what's your city known for? What would you say? This means, what is your city famous for? Why do people visit your city? It might just be something simple, like the air is so fresh. Or it might be, they just love this pastry, this type of dessert that's made in my city, and a lot of people like to come and eat that pastry. Cool. It could be something simple. Or, if you live in a bigger place, you can obviously talk about some famous destinations that your city is known for. But if people have not heard about your city, they might ask this question: oh, what's it known for? What's your city known for? And then you can think about some great places to visit that people might be interested in. Whenever I ask someone about their city, especially if I'm going to visit, like your city, I like to ask about their personal favorite thing to do. So, someone might ask you, what's your favorite thing to do in your city? Or, what's your favorite thing to eat there? What's your favorite thing to see? Because I think that local people's perspectives are often different than a tourist's perspective. So, finding out what the locals like to do, specifically what you like to do, can be really valuable and can add to a rich visiting experience. So if I asked you, what's your favorite thing to do in your city? You might tell me, oh man, there is this little bar off the beaten path down this alley, and you gotta check it out. It's so cool. They brew their own beer, and the atmosphere is awesome. It is a must-see. Great. I bet that my trip to your city would be a lot more amazing because of that information. So make sure that you have some ideas that you can tell other people about your city. Our final question is a little more broad. Someone might simply ask you, what do you recommend? Or maybe if you are talking to someone who lives in New York and you are about to visit New York, you can ask them some questions and say, what do you recommend? What do you recommend about New York? What do you recommend that I do? Oh, you got to see this museum. It's really cool. They have local artists that they have on display and all these different things you can see. Great. You are asking, what do you recommend in general? It might not be that person's absolute favorite thing personally, but to visit the city, what do you recommend? Great. A wonderful question to ask. What do you recommend? All right. Now that we've talked about some common vocabulary to describe your city, some common questions that you can ask or other people might ask you about where you live, let's see a quick sample conversation between me and my husband Ariel, where we talk about visiting Rome. Now, neither of us are from Rome, but I want you to use your imagination. Let's imagine that Ariel is from Rome. He's actually from the US, but let's imagine that he's from Rome, and he is giving me some insider tips about what I should do on my upcoming trip to Rome. Let's watch the sample conversation and listen for some of the key vocabulary that we just talked about because you are about to have a chance to use it yourself, speaking with me. Let's watch. Hey, Ariel. Ariel. Hey, Eliza. Are you excited for your trip to Rome? Eliza. Yeah, I can't wait. It's such a historic place. But are there any tourist traps I should avoid? Ariel. Yeah, avoid all the gelato shops except this one. It's off the beaten path, but trust me, it's worth it. Eliza. Oh, thanks for the tip. Any other must-sees? Ariel. Well, the Colosseum is great, but my favorite thing to do is wander around and see all the little chapels. It's usually more relaxed and less crowded that way. Eliza. Ah, that's good to know. Thanks for the tip. Ariel. No problem. Enjoy your trip. Eliza. I will. All right, now it is your turn. I'm going to ask you some questions about where you live because I'm coming to visit. I need to know what it's like. I'm going to ask you some questions, and then I will pause. I will be listening to you wherever you live around the world. I will be listening, so please speak out loud. Use the expressions that you've learned, and I can't wait to learn more about your city. Are you ready to get started? Hi, I'm taking a vacation to your city, and I can't wait. Tell me, what's the weather like in the summer? I need to know what I should pack. That's good to know. Thank you. Well, what's your favorite thing to do or see in your city? Wow, that sounds really interesting. So, I got to know. Are there any tourist traps that I should avoid when I go? Thanks so much for the tip. I look forward to visiting. I can't wait to see you soon. Bye. All right. How did you do having this conversation with me? You're welcome to review that and say it again and again. Eliza. With me. You're welcome to review that and say it again and again and again to practice and grow your confidence. Let's get started with some common expressions to talk about birthdays. Let's talk about some types of birthday parties. A birthday bash. This is a big party. Lots of people, lots of presents, lots of games. It's a big one. So you might say, we are throwing a birthday bash for my niece because she's turning 10. Double digits. Quite exciting. To throw a party. Are you holding the party and throwing it? No. I mean, maybe you're throwing some confetti, but this is just another way to say we're having a party or we're going to plan a party. We often use the verb to throw. You might say, we're throwing a party for my grandma's 90th birthday. It's going to be a big birthday bash. What if you're not a fan of birthday bashes? You want to keep things more low-key. You might say a gathering or a get-together. This is something small and intimate, just family, a few friends maybe. You could say, I'm not a fan of big birthday bashes, so we're just going to have a little gathering at my house, or we're just going to have a little get-together at my house. This is true for me. Usually, for my birthday, we just have a little get-together at my house with a couple of friends, maybe some family, nothing too big. Surprise. Oh, what did I just do? I surprised you because it's a surprise party. Usually, with a surprise party, the person who is having the birthday doesn't know about the party. This is the ideal situation. So, someone is planning, inviting guests, setting up everything, and they try to get the birthday person to come into that area without knowing anything. and they walk in, and then everybody jumps up and says, "Surprise." So, I'm curious, have you ever had a birthday for you? Have you ever helped to participate in a surprise birthday? I don't think that I ever have. But one time when I was in college, my friends threw a surprise birthday party for me and another friend who has the same birthday. And I didn't want to go. I said, "I'm studying, I have a test. I can't go down there. I'm not going to go have dinner with you guys. No, I need to study." And then one of my friends finally realized that I wasn't coming. And she said, "Hey, Eliza, it's a surprise birthday for you. Come on." So I had no choice at that point because I realized, oh, they're doing something nice for me. So you might say, "We're throwing a party for Eliza. It's a surprise party. Don't tell her." Well, unless you can't get her to come. Next, let's talk about some common phrases that are just associated with birthdays. The first one is RSVP. Now, this is occasionally something that we use in spoken conversation, but it is more common on a written invitation. It could be a physical invitation, or it might be an internet invitation using Facebook events or something like this. But RSVP stands for the French Répondez s'il vous plaît, and it means please respond. Please tell me if you're coming. So usually you will see this sentence: RSVP by June 30th. RSVP by Saturday. Whatever date. So there's a deadline. Please tell me if you're coming so that I can order the right amount of cake so that I can make the right amount of food. This is just a polite thing to do to RSVP. Wonderful. Another common phrase for birthdays or for parties is BYOB. What if I said, "Dinner and cake are provided BYOB"? What would that mean to you? Bring your old bag. Bring your old balloon. No. This means bring your own beer or bring your own booze. Booze is a slang term for alcohol, so this means I am not providing alcohol. If you want to drink alcohol, bring what you want to drink. Bring it for yourself. This is very common, and it's not really rude.